All right, what's going on, Facebook? I'm going to do a brief training today, and believe it or not, um, I'm doing a training basically on what it says on hindsight, lessons in hindsight. A lot of my coaching clients slash students, they're doing a lot of things, and I work with them exclusively on a few things, but I don't normally share everything because I'm talking about publicly. I don't share everything publicly because sometimes, you kind of feel exclusive about sharing content that you may not be sharing with your coaching students. So I'm going to share something that they can benefit from, as well as hopefully you can also. And I think that um, many of the trainers and coaches out there have a wealth of information, and it's just up to us to know what to do about it. And let's be honest, as long as I have been doing this, which is a number of years, I am still learning. And sometimes I'm caught by surprise when I realize that I didn't know something, or that I didn't realize how I could use something. And it's like, wow. And it's actually a pleasant surprise. So no matter how old you are, I hope somebody's pinging me. I hope you feel the same way too. Absolutely. I hope you feel the same way too. I just put out, hey Taylor, how you doing? Hey Cheryl, what's going on? I hope you feel what's up, Joe? I hope you feel good morning. Yes, absolutely. Good morning, ladies. I hope you feel the same way too when you learn something, or when something comes to your consciousness, because there's no rule that says you've got to know it all. You must know X by the time you reach a certain age. That's just not the way life is. And many of our parents and our grandparents, the way that they raised us was the best that they could. They told us what they knew, but they couldn't tell us what they didn't know. And the same thing goes for us when it comes to our children, nieces and nephew, and others that are following us or watching us. We can't teach or tell what we don't know. And in my opinion, you should never be uncomfortable if you're just at a certain stage, an educational stage or an enlightenment stage of life. When it's time for you to learn certain things, you will definitely learn them, but you can't learn them before. So don't feel uncomfortable if you've been in a particular industry or at a career level for a long time and you didn't realize that there's more to the game, that there's a deeper educational level or a deeper process. Everyone doesn't have the same learning curve or the same learning rate. But today, again, I want to talk to you about lessons in hindsight. Absolutely. Yeah, Cheryl said if you are still alive, you have a chance to learn. Absolutely, Cheryl. Love that, because that's true. Pass on your knowledge. Yes, you're absolutely true, Cheryl. You've got to pass on your knowledge. This world is in a lot of pain, and at the same time, we all have needs. And some of us are crazy hungry, but we don't know how to satisfy that urge, that hunger. We don't know how to satisfy that thirst. If you in church, they talk about the living water, right? And if you know, like I know, you know what the living water is. But today I want to talk to you again about lessons in hindsight. I wrote a book quite a few years ago, which was an Amazon bestseller. I'm going to see if you can see it. We just rebranded and relaunched the book. It's called Courage, Facing Mortality. Cancer Was Not My Only Obstacle. In this book, actually, my good friend, mentor, and coach, Dr. Willie Jolly, he did the forward, and the afterword was done by none other than Tony Browder from the IKG Cultural Institute in Washington, D.C. In fact, this is the book, Cheryl, that I shared when I came down to the event with you, and they took very good care of me there. It was a wonderful opportunity to work with Cheryl and her team. But the lessons that this book teaches and shares, for those of you that don't know, I am an overcomer of substance abuse. And I used drugs like many people did for quite a long time. I started out when I was very, very young. But what I didn't know is that I was digging a hole for myself. I was digging a grave. I was burying myself alive. And the point of all that is that I didn't know what I didn't know. And in hindsight, I decided to share in this book. I shared about my substance abuse as well as my my bout with cancer, 2-time bout with cancer. And the other, excuse me, the other writing, which some of this alludes to, I'm not going to really speak about this a lot, but the other writing, okay, let me do that again. This is A Line by Design. This is the previous book. I'm trying to get it right in the camera. This book will teach you a lot about where I'm going as far as hindsight and how to use it. But the actual lessons are coming from the memoir, okay? You have to understand what? Just write this down. If you have a pen and paper, grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to share some things with you that you may say, oh, that's obvious. But many of us overlook the obvious because it's so readily available, meaning it's right in your face. It's easy to bypass it. So number one, write this down. What? What is the significance of what? Well, in lessons in hindsight, you have to understand what it is that you did or what it is that you're doing. And understanding the what is going to tell you a lot about yourself. If you don't know what you're doing or what you did in past tense, it's going to be hard to benefit as you move forward in life. The what of a thing is tremendous in your learning. The what of a thing will tell you a lot about who you are and how you are. I didn't know these things. I didn't know that what I was doing was leading myself nowhere. I didn't know that what I was doing would escalate in a negative way. I didn't know that what I was doing would turn me into a substance abuser. I didn't know that what I was doing would prevent me from seeing life clearly. So understand, when you look at your own life, what are you doing and what did you do in your past that has positioned you for where you are? So again, today I'm talking about lessons in hindsight. And this is a brief training just to get you thinking, because I know, again, a lot of us are in pain, physical pain, psychological pain. A lot of us are hurting. A lot of us aren't where we want. A lot of us want more, but we don't understand why we are in that stuck place. So you have to look at, number one, the what, the past and present of your what. What got you in that position? What is it that you're doing now? And I want you to write that down. And the answer is not so much for me, but the answer is really for yourself, so that you can wake up to realize who you are and what's going on in your life in the here and now. Because if you don't understand that, it'll be very difficult to change your circumstances. And I'm going to be doing more trainings like this, because I think it's important that sometimes we have to see someone that has gone through those stages, or hear the words, or actually have it in black and white, so that we can identify it easier. You know, and like I've said before, I'm a person that believes in simplicity. I don't need to use sophisticated language to express a point. If I want to help you, just like if I want to help myself, I want it to be in layman's terms. Now, I know there's some of us that are academics and they need the sophistication to make it seem like it's worthwhile for them. But the truth of the matter is, if you are an academic and the information is being presented to you on a lower level, the truth of the matter is you still should be able to embrace it, digest it, and break it down. It should be simple. Now, if you are a person that is not an academic, and Sir Charles is trying to teach you something, and I come to you way up here, I'm going to miss you. I am not doing you any good. I am not serving you. So I believe in simplicity. I want to break it down so it's simple. So again, number one is the significance of what? Past and present. So, for example, for me, as it relates to my substance abuse, that's what I did. And how it affects my past was I was a follower. I was trying to fit in. So I did what everyone else was doing because I thought that would equate to my status. I thought that would make me cooler. I thought that would enhance my understanding. I thought that would make me the man. I'm the dude. But what I did not know, see, there's another what, was that I was digging a hole for myself. And that hole would be the beginning of my almost demise. And let's go to number 2. You have to understand the significance of the why. Past and present also. Why are you doing, or why did you do the things that you did? See, the actual action is the what. The why is the reason. What was the reason that you did the things you did? And again, I'm going to put it on me. And you can put yourself in my place if you'd like. For me, my why was to be accepted. My why was to be cool. My why was to assume the position that I knew what was going on. My why was to give me a certain status, to be established during a time that this was the social norm. This was the expected behavior. And again, that why relates to past and present. So for present, why are you doing what you're doing now? Especially if you're not getting the results. You see, if you're not getting the results you want to do, then your what and why is skewed. It's off center. It's off track. You have to recalibrate. You have to realign. Goes back to the book, right? You have to learn how to become aligned by design. You have to realign yourself so that you're in a position where you actually can get the benefits, where you actually can grow, where you actually can see with your third eye. And if you can see with that third eye and grow and develop differently, then you will certainly or surely get different results. So that's number 2, the significance of why. And, if you have any questions or comments, please post them because I'd love to answer them. Cheryl said, hindsight is 2020. So true, so true. She also said, I'm ready to host you. Okay, let's talk about it, Cheryl. Let's make it happen. Because I got a couple more books since I was last there. I would love the opportunity of sharing with your audience and with your sphere of influence. Absolutely. That would be great. Hey, Jackie, good to see you, Jackie. Jackie Price is always good to see Jackie from the West Coast. Hi, no problem, Cheryl. Okay, she shared this broadcast. That's great. Hey, Tanya, good to see you. I can't wait to see you at the conference on September 1st and September 2nd, which is at the end of this week. You better be ready. Better have your pen and paper. All right, so let me keep moving. Hey, Mr. Thomas, how you doing, sir? So again, number 1 was knowing the significance of your what, past and present. Number 2 was knowing the significance of your why, past and present. So I'm only going to share 3 tips today because I don't want to extend it too far. Sometimes when you beat a dead horse, the horse ain't gonna move, right? So I don't want to go too long. I just want to hit it and forget it. So what you do now, what you do now and where you go. So the first thing is understanding what you did. The second thing is understanding why you did it. Once you understand those 2 things, you come into the next phase, which is number 3. What you do now and where do you go now? Excuse me. So where you go depends on what you want. What you do is depending on if you have identified your sweet spot. I always call it your sweet spot because it's meaningful to you. It's tasty to you. It's appealing to you. And you need to understand where you go once you understand the mistakes you've made, once you understand why you made those mistakes. Where you go now is determining on your appetite. You really have to have an appetite or a thirst for more in your life. The heftier your appetite, or the more you're focused on getting what you want, the easier or the closer you can get to that thing. So lessons in hindsight are very, very instrumental if you expect to get something out of this thing called life. So what do you do once you realize what put you in that position? You have to turn away from those things. You have to turn away from things that don't serve you. So for example, let's say if you're going to the bar, right? If you're going to the bar and you kill 4 or 5 hours after work, then you go home and then you do the same thing the next day, or you do the same thing every weekend, you have to ask yourself, does that really serve me? What do I get out of it? You're spending money. You might meet some folks, but it really does not serve you. So that means you may have to curtail your behavior. You may have to cut down on the amount of time you go there, or you may have to go there with a plan. And I share this a lot in my my boot camps. If you're going to go to a bar or a buffet or happy hour, whatever it is, go with the expectation of looking for a client if you're in business. And if you're not in business, go with the expectation of meeting people that present mental stimulation. Because when you meet people with mental stimulation, you open up yourself an opportunity for growth. And when you open up yourself an opportunity for growth, there may be someone there that can help you. You see, if you can't generate business, maybe you can become educated by meeting someone who is in business. That's depending if that's what you want. So where do you go from there? It depends on what it is that you're doing, man. It actually depends on where you want to go. You have to be able to discern left from right for your own life. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If you know that you want to be a basketball coach, well, you may not be the coach in the NBA, but how about starting with Little League? How about being a coach's assistant? How about being learning about sports, sports journalism? You got to put yourself in the game by being in that arena, being around those type of people that are doing those type of things. If you're not going to do those type of things and be in that arena, you're not going to get where you want to be. Now, let's be realistic also. The older you are, the less likely you hit that pinnacle. But if it satisfies your heart, if it satisfies your soul, you're where you're designed to be. That, my friends, is key. You're where you're designed to be. Hey, Del, good to see you, Del. Hey, Horace, good to see you as well. Let's face the facts, folks. Doing the thing that you want is the ultimate thing for your life. God has put different talents in each and every one of us. But you have to learn how to identify your own. It doesn't matter if your spouse has a different interest or your children are aligned in a different way. They will come into their own at the right time. But you have to do what's key for you. So, again, this is what we talk about. We're going to do a recap, and you can share this out. I definitely would appreciate it. But go over it for yourself. If you have that pen and paper, I hope you were taking notes. If not, watch the replay. This is not very long, and I want you to do everything you can do to become the best version of you. And again, a lot of these lessons I'm sharing from my experience come right from my book, Courage Facing Mortality. Cancer was not my only obstacle. Why do I share it? Because, well, number one, enough people liked it for it to become an Amazon bestseller, but there's tons and tons of lessons and nuances that you can gain from this. This book, I talk about lessons I learned with my substance abuse, marriage, cancer. I talk about everything. I don't hold anything back. And why? Because there may be someone out there that needs to hear my story the way I tell it. It's just like in January, I usually do a boot camp called Tell Your Story, Live Your Story, Be Your Story. I can't tell everyone's story, and I'm not supposed to. There are people watching you because they understand the cadence of your voice. There are people watching you because they like your style. There are people watching you for various reasons that I don't have all the answers to, and you don't. But they're dependent on you to be the ultimate version of yourself, which will encourage them to be the ultimate version of themselves. Does that make sense? All right. So look, again, let's go over a recap. The first thing I was saying, number one, you want to write down the significance of what? Past and present. What you did and what you're doing. You need to understand that. That's very important. Number two, the significance of why. Why did you do those things? And why are you doing what you're doing now? A lot of times, the things we do now is just an extension of what we did in the past, unless you're already elevating the game. So look at the past and present of the why. And number three, you need to know, what do you do now that you understand your past mistakes or your past errors? And you need to also know, where do you go now that you understand your past mistakes and your past errors? This is a truth that you have to face within yourself. And honestly, in my book, Aligned by Design, I'm sorry, I have to keep referencing it because this is where the information comes from. In this book, I talk about critical, in-depth analysis. And honestly, I got this from a conference I went to, a Full Throttle conference with Del Toro. And we had this board breaking exercise. And the first time I went to his conference, I broke the board. I wrote on the board what my stumbling blocks were, what my hurdles were. So if I do the martial arts move, I break the board, right? So I come back to DC, but I didn't bring the board with me. I threw it away. I wish I could. It's right over there now. I should have brought it over here. But the point is, the next conference he had, I did the same thing. I wrote on the board what my stumbling blocks were, and I do the martial arts maneuver to break the board. Boom. Oh, snap. It didn't break. So I tried a little harder. Boom. Oh, snap. It did not break. So I go get another board that had a lighter weight, and I wrote on it again what my stumbling blocks were. And it went to show me, this is the lesson of the board not breaking twice. It showed me that you may think you have what it takes, and you might, but you may not be able to execute just because you think you have what it takes. You have to really be mentally prepared in all ways, all shapes, forms, and sizes, so that you can break through that board. And I did not break that board because I felt I knew what to do and it would be easy. It was not easy. So on that second time, when I changed the board and wrote my stumbling blocks, voila, I broke through. But I brought the board back home with me as a constant reminder of what I need to do to assess myself. You don't always need someone to put you in check. You don't always need someone to tell you like a TI is. Sometimes if you're honest with yourself, hopefully all the time, if you're honest with yourself, you can do your own critical in-depth analysis and check yourself so that you can allow yourself to move forward. It's all about growth. How you grow is up to you. That's why I say you've got to radiate the brain and change the game. If you have any questions, please share it. I'll definitely hit you back. By all means, this is what I do. This is what I love. And you will see more coming from all my books: Courage, Facing Mortality, Aligned by Design, Radiate the Brain and Change the Game, as well as the new book coming out after the diagnosis. I'm going to make it a point to do these trainings so that you can get what you need and you can move forward. Just so happens I was in New Orleans and I got a guy that did a consultation with me. I think it was last year. I was in Atlantic City. And so he paid for the 1 hour consultation, right? We talked. I poured everything. I take away all the excuses. I meet him going up the escalators. I'm going down the escalator. And you know what he said to me? Hey, man, thanks so much for the consultation. Now I'm speaking. He didn't take my coaching class. He took a consultation. And what I poured into him, it was enough to get him going. Now he's speaking. So I hope you're going to be speaking, training, coaching, or writing. Radiate the brain. Change the game. I'll see you later.